Hey y'all, my name's Hagen. Welcome back to Lettuce Comics. This is the Sunday morning comic book hangover show. I think that's right.
It's close enough.
But yeah, I'm joined here with my guest host and spouse, Nate from Hollywood Comics. And
Hello.
we are joined by a very talented and fascinating individual, Up and Adam. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing great. I guess I'm after many years, or not many years, but after watching your channels from its inception, I'm kind of like your illegitimate child in some way. If you're the spouse,
Well, we're very proud.
Very, very proud. And somewhat ashamed of our influence, not of you, but of our influence.
It's more about what we've done. So I will say, like, I am, you guys, you know, this little cluster that you've kind of come up with, you guys are rocking out videos and hangouts, and it's just very cool. It's very cool. So you definitely hit the ground running, man, and sending out your art to us. And then if people haven't seen Brandon's video from Mon Comics, you did one for him, which I really appreciated, the progress pictures that you sent. It's funny because it's not the cover I would have chosen for him, but it's perfect. Like, it's perfect. I thought you would have went with Man Thing, but the monster at the window, perfect.
Yeah, well, I thought about it. I tried to do something with that person in mind, and I was also like selfishly, like, I know he's really big into trying to collect the pre-Marvel monsters and things like that, and that's been kind of his passion of late. And it was just kind of like, okay, let me find a monster that isn't so scary or so weird. Like, I can put his face in there somehow. Like Fing Fang Foom would have been a little tough and some of that.
Right.
But I was like, let me try to find a cover, and I just thought that was cool. And I was like, I could do some cool stuff with the title, and
it was cool
doing things with that. And Brandon said, of course, now this is like really high on top of his list to find. Now he's got to find that book now to have the companion. So that's cool. Yeah, but it's been fun.
Before we get too terribly into it, I do want to say hi to the lovely people that have woken up or stayed awake and joined us.
I hope everyone is in their bedclothes. I am wearing, as I do every Sunday morning, what I slept in.
Yeah, I picked up a shirt off the floor, and I took my robe off the bathroom door, and I flipped on my computer, and here we are. But JSS, good morning, sir. How are you doing? Christina, the lovely Christina, is here. We get to meet both of them at Heroes Con, I think. I'm so excited about that.
Hey, I just want to put this out there too before you move on. Anybody, Adam, and anyone who has a channel where they do live streaming, just go ahead and auto make Christina and JSS mods for your channel. They do an incredible job, and they are just so cool and supportive. So do that.
Yeah, because if you go back and look at the chat, like 6:22 a.m. JSS, 6:23 JSS, 8:20, 8:21, 8:24, 8:24. Like,
I mean, they're dropping everything. It's awesome.
We should pay them.
As soon as I start making money at this.
Yeah,
right now I'm about 50K in the hole.
We'll split the 13 cents that we get, like, for the first year or whatever, and we'll split it up between the two of them. Steve, how are you doing, sir?
DVD.
Adam, hey man. Jason from Renegade.
Hey.
Oh, yikes! I didn't know that New York was going through that. I hope you're staying safe and warm, and I hope that we can keep you company.
Yes.
With our stupidity. Doug, comic collector coach. Hey man, how are you doing? Matt from Matt Likes Comics. Man, these guys must be popular. That's what they tell us.
Yeah.
I don't know about that though. And let's see. Michael. Hey Michael, how are you doing?
I love his icon.
Yeah. And K Munin. Adam, I hope you've brought some stuff that will make K Munin upset. Because
It's kind of a game.
If it appeals to us, it probably will. JX is here. How are you doing?
Good morning.
Matt and Clemson.
Matt. I wonder where he's from.
No clue.
That's weird.
And then other Matt with the very important news that ferret number 1 has reached $10 on an eBay sale.
Speaking of our stupid influence,
I have to believe that's because of us. There's no way. There's no way.
No, we caused a run on that. Nothing stupidly major, but enough that it probably did tick up a couple bucks.
I picked up 2 extra copies I found in a shop this week. I was just like, let's control the market. Yeah.
You would have to drop some serious cash to control the market, because I'm sure that they printed a bajillion of those things. Kenneth Bird, how are you doing?
Good morning.
I think that's everybody. I think we're all caught up.
I think we are too. All right. So you know what? Let's kick it off real quick, just with for people who haven't seen, our friend Adam is an artist, and he sent me this awesome homage to Dazzler number 1 with me in there. And then in the disco bubbles, characters that are important to me, like the ferret, Alf, Amethyst, and Lois Lane. And then that was followed with the one that Hagen got.
Mm-hmm. And this is that infamous picture of big titty Liefeld cap, along with Namor, my probably least favorite superhero. The ferret, probably my favorite superhero, and action figure Aunt May, and then that one random flying face from that issue of Rob Liefeld's run on Cap. I think it's like Cap 3. But yeah,
do you know what that random face is? I mean, I know what you're talking about, but like, how does it actually figure into the story? Like, I don't get it.
You'll be shocked to know that I haven't bothered to read it yet. I'm going to force myself to do it, because I do have the first 6 that he did. I'm gonna force myself to do it, but I'd rather read like good stuff than that.
Yeah,
it ruined both images.
I don't think there is, from what I remember, I don't think there is an explanation to the floating face. So
I remember seeing somewhere that there might be, or that there could be. I have no idea. I'll read it and I'll get back to you. I will message you if there's an explanation or not. But my favorite thing about this is that Nate, you had a contribution to this, right?
Yes. I encouraged the Aunt May with man hands action figure.
Mm-hmm. And if I'm not mistaken, I encouraged the Alf on yours. Yeah. And so yeah, Adam, I very much appreciated you allowing us to make an indelible mark using your talents on this glorified shit post that you've made for us.
No way could I have ever like drawn that, but the idea, like, he's like, who else should I put in the background? And I was like, I mean, you got to fit in some Liefeld somehow. Mm-hmm. But if you can, man hands Aunt May. Like, I sent Adam the picture too. Like, he didn't know what I was talking about. He's just like, my God, it's hideous. Like, yeah, don't you need it? I need it.
And I was like, yeah, gotta include that. That's like one of those things you see and you're just like, oh yeah, there needs to be more of this in the world.
So what started your journey towards being able to draw Aunt May man hands?
All roads led to that.
All my life has led to this point, and you know that's the pinnacle of everything, and it's all downhill from here.
How could it not be?
Yeah, I mean, no, I mean, I have never been trained in anything clearly in art, so it's just something that I've enjoyed. But my whole family, I'll tell you a little interesting story. So my grandfather he died when I was 1 year old, but he back in the day, movie theaters hired artists to do their movie posters and that type of thing. And so he was on staff, worked in the movie theater, but he was the artist. And so he created the posters. They would get like pre-films and things like that to look at a little bit of footage and then try to create a poster or an art display or things like that. And so there was a theater in Charlottesville, Virginia. It's kind of on the downtown mall for anybody that's been there, called the Jefferson. And he was the artist for that theater. And the interesting part of the story is he was so good at what he did, word got out. And actually, he was contacted by Walt Disney, and this is in the this was like in the 1940s, and he was contacted by Walt Disney and said, "Hey, I want to use, I would love to hire you as an animator. I have a lot of stuff, and we want to put some films together and things like that. And I want to hire you, but you have to move out to California." And he didn't want to move, so I could have had a much better life or existed in some other fashion if we had gotten in on the floor of Disney. But but my mom is also an artist. My brother went to school for art, so that's that's kind of art has always been kind of supported, but I just like doing it for fun, and so and kind of my my start in trying to do those pieces, and I have more planned. I'm working on one right now that will probably get to where it's going in the next couple of weeks. But my plan was like, I've been watching some YouTube pretty heavily for comic book YouTube in the last year or so, and finally got the push from Mr. Aiken's Mystery Meat package to like film an unboxing of something. And I was like, okay, let me just get out there. But in my mind, I've been thinking about it for a while. And I was like, one thing I'd like to do is just to do something nice for the people that kind of inspired me and have given me chuckles and good positive feelings through watching your YouTube. So that's kind of where that part of it started. So yeah, but I've been doing some like stuff for me and stuff for friends of mine, and had a few commissions and things like that I've done. But just a fun way to kill some time. Yeah.
A few more people hopped in. I just want to say good morning to Brian LCS and Cliff on Comics, Son of Crom, and Terry, all the way from England, Dead Man Comic Cover Show. If you want to see some awesome Silver Age DC, and I do, Terry puts out, he puts out like, he does a year. So it's like, here's Action Comics, or here's a Supergirl or Detective or whatever, and he does the full set, and he actually knows who drew the covers and did the interiors. My research department, I got to get on them about that. But did someone say Mystery Meat? So your art is awesome, but in addition to that, you also collect a lot of original art. Like, that's what I see it in your videos. I have not. I've bought some prints, of people's art, but I've not bought original art. That just seems like I don't. It seems like something that's really difficult to do, to get a one of. How did you get started in like commissioning original art from people? And isn't that horribly expensive?
Yeah. Well. I'm also in the education field, Nate, so okay. I don't have a lot of money. All right.
No, I know my Lamborghini's out front.
So, So one thing kind of interesting, the very first con that I went to was a Baltimore Comic-Con, and I want to say it was like 2016 or something like that. And George Perez was there. And he was always one of my favorite artists. And so I remember going into the con and making a beeline of course, it was my first con, so I wasn't like first in line. I didn't know like, hey, you should try to get there extra early. So I made a beeline to his line. George does a thing where he gives out tickets for like your number in line, and then he's like, just come back at some point and check your number. And so I did other things in the con, came back later in the afternoon, and talked with George for a while, and he said, he's like, would you like a sketch or something? And I was just like, no, because I saw like a whole line of people, and I was like, oh, I don't want to take up any of his time doing something for me. So I kind of walked away, but it kind of gave me an idea of like, oh, people do sketches and things like that. And so it wasn't, I've kind of gotten more deep into the, more recently than anything, but, I don't, in terms of like commissioning things, I think the most that I have probably, spent is probably like $200 to get something done. But it kind of depends on, oh yeah, there's mine. Yeah. But there's,
Love you, Dad.
so I'm more about like getting like a small little sketch, remark, whatever you want to call it. I have gotten a few bigger pieces from some other people. But I'm kind of looking at bargains and things like that. And I know there's also people that worry about, the storage of all of that and what are you going to do? As you can see, my backdrop has no comic stuff back here because I just let my wife like control that part of it. You can decorate the house. So she's like, yeah, we're not putting up all that comic art all over the house or anything like that, which is totally fine with me. I'm okay with that. But I do have an office, and my office is covered in comic art and things like that. So, but yeah, I don't, I'm trying to, I can't even really, I do know my very first piece that ever got done, and that was Ken Hazer. And you can actually see Ken Hazer stuff is in the like Diamond Previews catalog, where you could like get this comic with a sketch from Ken Hazer. But I was waiting in line for David Michelini because I wanted him to sign my Avengers 200 issue, because that's the one where, Miss Marvel has sex with and gives birth to her own son.
Yes.
Or is raped or something. Yeah, it's dark.
That is a WTF story.
Yeah.
That is incredible.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask him about that, and he was right next to him. Yeah, of course.
So hey, this thing that that people widely regard as being one of the darkest issues of Marvel. What's the deal with that, man?
Why did you do that, Mr. Michelini? If I could ask a question about the worst thing you ever did.
Did you go to a different pharmacy after that clearly medication mix-up?
Well, and he honestly said to me, he's like, yeah, mistakes were made.
Okay. Now, if I may draw a very nerdy parallel, there is an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation in season 1 or 2 that is almost the same story. Deanna Troi gives birth to a baby that grows up super quick and then goes away, and like, and in classic Star Trek fashion, once we get to the end of the episode, we'll never reference it again. Yep. But it was the same thing. It's just so freaking weird. Like,
see, the response that he said were like mistakes are made. That made me think of there's a video of George Lucas after the first screening of Phantom Menace, and he gets up, and it's like the screening for like the writers and the producers and stuff. And he gets up and he looks around and he says, I may have gone too far in some places, and then he walks out of the room. Like that's just perfect. But oh man, okay.
Yeah, but I think also like just with the art thing, I think I have a whole bunch of comics, way too many comics, and kind of that natural progression of, okay, now I have a bunch of comics. What's next? You kind of sometimes like I can invest a little bit in a little piece of art, and that, and it's kind of cool to meet, you know, some of the creators and talk to them about it, or get something that they're well known for. If they've watched my channel, I have a whole collection of Doctor Doom stuff that I also thought it was kind of neat to see, like different people's interpretations of Doctor Doom.
Yeah,
So
that's really cool.
that was kind of my thing for a bit. But yeah, I have a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite?
I would say, so I will say, like, my George Perez Doctor Doom is probably my favorite, because to rectify my denying myself of a sketch, I actually reached out to him like a year or two later, and I was like, you know, that was really stupid of me. And
I'm
so,
sorry.
yeah, so I reached out to him, and you know, he had it to me like within like 2 weeks, you know, and that was like probably a year and a half before he passed away. So so I was honored to do that. I also with Neil Adams, I have a Neil Adams Doctor Doom, and with Neil, he was doing some special deal for head sketches through his I think Facebook, that he was doing them, and he was doing, like, you know, just side shots, profiles of people, and I was telling him, I was like, well, if you did a profile of Doctor Doom, it would be almost like his full you know, cowl, you know, almost like, you know, his full hooded cloak. And he said, I was like, is there any way I could get one just straight on? And I have friends of mine, they're like, you had the balls to ask Neil Adams to like switch what he was going to do. And I did, I guess, just stupidity. But yeah, so he gave me a front facing Doctor Doom. And then I recently got a Steve Epting bigger kind of piece of that's amazing. His Steve Epting's, I mean, Hagen knows, like, his art is just outstanding, and that's definitely one of my favorites too. So yeah.
Steve Epting is hugely influential on like what I think about comic art, just because of the stuff that I grew up reading. But yeah,
and that's Perez and Neil Adams for me, for sure. There's a ton in the chat, if you guys are watching it, scroll here, a ton of George Perez love.
Yeah.
From the peeps in the chat. So JSS asks a good question, Adam. If you can't keep your art on the walls, where are you storing your books? How, like, where's your hoard? Where's your dragon hoard at?
Yeah, so I have a climate controlled storage unit.
Wow.
So yeah. So and you know, it kind of works for my wife, because it's like out of sight, out of mind. And she has, you know, we have other stuff, of course, in there, but it's a little awkward. Like, I have to plan a little bit if I'm, you know, I need a particular book. But yeah, I have everything. Everything is completely organized, you know, alphabetical in order. But what, you know, I still collect a lot of new books. You know, I'm probably picking up like 10 to 15 new books a week. And, you know, so it's like I gotta occasionally spend some days in the storage unit filtering and sorting and trying to do that. So that's, yeah, but that's where I keep all my stuff. My art, mostly, you know, I keep at the house. Yeah, I pretty much keep most of that here. And that's something I can look at a little bit more often. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Really cool.
Speaking of new books, what's something that's out? Like, I pick up a lot of books too, not 10 to 15 a week, although I may have last week. I buy mostly DC and independent. But like, what's a book that's out right now that, because a lot of people don't like modern books. You know, a lot of collectors were collecting from our childhood. I'm just addicted to good stories. So I love the old ones for nostalgia. I love the old ones that are great. But there are some really good books coming out, you know, mini series and ongoings. What's something that you are really liking right now that's out on shelves and coming out, or that came out recently?
Yeah. So I collect heavily Marvel, but also indie. Marvel's been mostly, oh yeah, absolutely. Martian Manhunter was actually really good.
I
this
loved it.
week.
I loved it. I mean, I would say it's my pick of the week, but when I get a stack of books, right? And like last week I got a stack. I portion them out so that they'll get me through the week. I read a couple every day. And it's usually like, here's one I think is going to be really good, and here's one that's probably going to be a turd. Sorry, coffee delivery. I got it. Thank you, sweetheart.
That's awesome.
Gets me through the day. Absolute Martian Manhunter, I didn't know how it was going to be, so it was actually my first read. I love weird sci-fi, and this was weird, psychological sci-fi, and no spoilers, but I thought the last page was brilliant. I thought it was a brilliant idea, so I really liked it.
Yeah, but I probably, it like some of the Marvel that I get is just because I always get it.
Yeah.
And so my biggest book that I collect is Fantastic Four. That's been my favorite title through my life. So that, I'm always going to pick up Fantastic Four. Of course, I'm loving the One World Under Doom kind of stuff just because it's more Doom. I can't complain. But the a lot of the indie books I really gravitate towards for the storytelling.
Yes.
DC, I've enjoyed the Absolute line quite
Some
a bit.
Of them have been Absolute Wonder Woman is fan freaking tastic.
Yeah.
Absolute Batman is just big stupid action fun.
Yeah, and
Superman I dropped.
I love Nick Dragata's art in that just because it's different for Batman, which I enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm actually not, not to offend anyone. I've never been a big Superman fan. He's always been a little too powerful. I've read some of the big classic stories, but not something that I've gravitated to. But Absolute Superman has been outstanding. I've really, really liked that.
That's what I've heard. I'll definitely read it in trade.
Yeah,
but it was one of those titles. It just didn't grab me in the first issue, and with books being $5, I'm going to spend my $5 elsewhere.
But I really like some of the horror stuff. So pretty much anything James Tynion does, I'm going to pick up. I really like The Deviant just ended, and that was
so good.
That was good.
It was so good.
I like some of the Creep Show has been really good for horror. Some of those others like Epitaphs from the Abyss and Hello Darkness and some of those kind of things are kind of like fun little anthology things that I've enjoyed. But I know you liked Bug Wars. Bug Wars was.
Dope loves Bug Wars. I have not picked up issue 2. I did read issue 1. I thought it was okay.
I thought 1 was okay as well, but number 2 grabbed me.
Okay. More. And see, that's what book did that have? There was a book that just happened with not too long ago for me. It was The Moon is Following Us.
Yeah.
So issue 1 was not spectacular, but it was an interesting idea. And issue 2, if they would have done a double issue for that, I think they would have hooked a lot more people.
I've got to ask really you were talking about Tynion, and I ask everybody who even casually mentions something about it. Have you read Something is Killing the Children?
Yes. Now I will say I stopped reading it. And so I'm definitely a person where I like the story. I gravitate probably a little heavier towards the art side of things as well, but kind of both need to be there. Mm-hmm. And just my personal preference, I was actually reading House of Slaughter, and there was one panel in there that Werther Dell'Edera did that I was like, oh gosh, this looks disgusting to me. I just didn't like it. And I was like, I'm done. so I just stopped reading it. But I love the story, the story in Something is Killing Children. And I kind of, I got into that from pretty much the beginning of it, and in collecting the issues, and then I just kind of lost a little bit of interest as they were expanding a little bit. Like I wanted more Erica and that type of thing. So
Yeah, totally understand that.
I have liked reading Something is Killing the Children as a trade more than I think I would have month to month. It's one of those stories that lends itself to a lengthier read section. So yeah, that's there was another book. Oh, Hello Darkness. You mentioned Hello Darkness. I picked up pretty much every horror anthology that has come out because I love the old EC ones. I like a one and done story, especially like a good story told in 4 or 5 pages. I think it's awesome. But most of those from Oni Press I have dropped, except Cruel Kingdom has been really good.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to get it, but Matt from Matt Likes Comics, he was like, no, that one's actually really good. One thing they did in Cruel Kingdom is they kind of went back to, I don't think it's exactly the same, but it's a lot closer to the old EC font that they used for all their stories. And that kind of hits, if that makes any sense. Like visually, I think that helps you as a reader be a little more tied to it. But I think Hello Darkness has been the best horror anthology. There is a short Something's Killing the Children story in there. Garth Ennis had it was called The War. Holy crap. It got real dark and it was really good. But they have these little like one panel, almost like Far Side comics that a guy draws in there. And those crack me up. I mean, they're really funny and really dark. And so like you'll laugh and then feel bad for laughing. It just seems like a really golden era for for short form anthology horror right now. I mean, they're everywhere on the racks, and some of them are good.
Yeah, and I feel like I agree. Like that, Cruel Kingdom has probably been the best overall that from the EC reprint. But those issues are kind of like, you're not invested. So one issue is going to be good and one issue may not be quite as good based on what stories are inside. And so, but I've actually felt like Creepshow has done the best consistently with what they've been putting out there. And I think they have, like only 2 stories or something like that in an issue. So it gives you a little bit more time to breathe in that story. So I think that's helped. But yeah, but I talked to the guy that kind of revamped this EC Comics line at a con recently. And I was telling him, I was like, hey, my one complaint is you gotta have more of the hosts.
Yeah.
The EC stuff. Yeah. Like I need to see the Gravedigger or whatever.
Right.
I'm not like, that may not be right. It's Gravedigger's the monster truck. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Gravedigger. Yeah. So yeah.
Well, no, I think the new one is the Gravedigger, right? From Epitaphs.
I think so, but it's something like that.
They didn't use the old hosts. They came up with new ones, and Cruel Kingdom doesn't even have one. I haven't read Ice Cream Man, but Dope and Eric from 9 Panel are both saying that that's good. I need to pick up a trade of that and check it out because I've heard that. The Cruel, well, all of them. They have some really amazing covers, and then like the interior art a lot of times disappoints. Like I wish it was. There are times I'm just like, man, I can't believe that this is $5. I don't need the best art in the world, but sometimes the art is really I don't know. It's just really been lacking in a few of those, which was one of the reasons I dropped the others, Epitaphs, and I can't remember what the other one was. But yeah, Cruel Kingdom has been the best, and their covers have been awesome.
Yeah, but I will say, like indie wise, Redcoat and Hyde Street are amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, if you like history, Redcoat is wonderful. A lot of good history references in there, and it's Jeff Johns. So, and they're planning like 150 issues or something like that. Wow. I saw like from an interview with him. So if you give him time to get invested into something, it's going to be a good ride. but I think and Hyde Street's been a really, like, if you like some of that like one shot stories that have like a creepiness to it, Hyde Street is amazing. So yeah.
Yeah, Dope's been talking about Hyde Street.
Yeah.
And it just suffered from, for me anyway, it suffered from, I'm already getting these other horror anthologies and I don't have room in my pull list to grab one more book. But I did, and don't spoil it because I haven't read it yet, but I am so excited for Free for All
It was fun.
by Patrick Horvath, the guy who did Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. One of my favorite books from last year for sure. It was one of the books that my wife is not the biggest comic book reader, but I do a lot of my comic book reading in bed. So like Beneath the Trees is one where I would read it and then just pass it over to her so that she could put it on her pile to read. We both, I mean, she likes horror too, but that one was just like, so good. And so I'm interested to see what he does when it's not animals, because the other one was kind of this weird anthropomorphic Richard Scarry meets Dexter thing. But this cover, right? Like the way he does these like vivisection things, this guy has a darkness in him, and I'm here for it.
And it's kind of like, billionaires going into battle against each other, which is something we'd like to have happen in the real world, maybe.
I bought a comic book in Nashville, Tennessee that was just called Eat the Rich.
Oh, I've read that. That's great.
Is it awesome?
That's a great series.
I'm so excited for it then, because I saw it. It was like it was a picture of I have it somewhere. If I have a second, I think it's in my kitchen near my other stack of to be sorted comic books. But I'll see if I can grab it. But
it has nothing to do with cannibalism of Big Nasty. So just to say, yeah.
Awesome.
A couple real quick before you do that. Again, a lot of new people have joined in, a lot of people with channels. Look at JSS and Christina dropping links like crazy. You should add them as moderators to your channel because they do incredible work like this and they're wonderful, wonderful people.
Well, I was just going to say that I have a couple things to show, but you said you actually messaged me. I don't know if he messaged you, Nate, but you messaged me a couple days ago and said like you had some stuff that you thought that we would like, and to me that means you have some stupid stuff.
I do.
I'd love to see some.
I would love to see some stupid stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah, I can show some things. So all right, this has a weird story to it, and I want to do it. It's odd, but there's some. I've said too much. Anyway, if we have any philatelists out here, stamp collectors.
I knew what that was.
Yeah,
I learned it from The Simpsons.
I have this first day issue stamp that's Silver Surfer. I also got one that was Captain America that I gave to the owner of my LCS. But what I want to show you here is the person is Dr. Adolf Wessler. And I went into some further digging, and it's Dr. Adolf H. Walser. His middle name is Hitler. I know, crazy. And he had a Captain America first day issue stamp, which I was like, that's crazy. Now,
I do know that there are relatives who came to America of Adolf Hitler. They settled in Ohio. There is a town called Hitler, Ohio. If they haven't changed the name since then, like that was a thing.
Yeah. Now he has passed away, and he was born in like 1938 in Vienna, Austria. But I was looking at his life. He went into the army and actually served in Germany. But in the like late 1950s. But I was like, this is so odd that there is a Silver Surfer and a Captain America stamp by somebody named. But that's just.
If I had a nickel for every time Hitler came up on this show, I'd have 15 cents, which isn't a lot, but it is weird that it's happened 3 times.
It keeps coming up.
It's weird. Yeah. Okay. So, where do I start? So, I have a little stack here. Have y'all heard of Mad Dog magazine?
No, I thought this was there's a Mad Dog. Is it from Marvel?
Yeah. It reminded me of your shoe thing where there's like different
Yeah.
people in here, but there is Top Lop, which is a Top Gun parody with bunnies, and they even do like a flyby and all that kind of stuff in it.
All right, where's my pen?
There, yeah,
Yeah.
get your pen out, Egan. You're gonna want this stuff. Keep it
Do a
out for
barrel
while.
roll.
There's an electric eel assassin, and then there's this rhino wrestler, who's like a radical rhino wrestler. What is it? Ralph the Righteous Radical Wrestling Rhino. He's rough, he's
Hell yeah.
tough, he's horny.
Hell yeah.
So
Hell yeah.
that was in there. So I was like, this is good.
That's a good one.
I got this, the Midnight Skulker.
Ooh.
And it is a total parody of all the like Crisis and Secret Wars kind of stuff.
Love that.
And you know, who knows who these printers are? It's somebody in Michigan that did it. But one thing that was kind of funny is they have a whole panel of all the different heroes that they have in there. And my favorite was just, oh, poor little sad Marty, son of Mars, that's in there. But it's
So
got, you know,
What's that one called?
the Midnight Skulker.
Midnight Skulker.
Yeah.
It's
Weird
on the
stuff.
list. That's going to be a hard one. I feel like that will be a hard one to find.
There's, I don't know if you've heard of Sunrise.
I've seen that one before, I feel like. That looks
So,
familiar.
but the coolest thing actually about Sunrise is there's a bonus story on the back that's Abraxas, and it's one of the very first Grant Morrison stories.
I don't know if it's the same or not, but there is a terrible movie called Abraxas starring Jesse the Body Ventura.
Yes. I've seen that.
It's god awful.
Yeah.
Not only have I seen it, but then like the bad movie people on YouTube, I've watched them watch it because I had to suffer through it. I wanted to watch other people. I wonder if that's connected because it's
a very common name. I wouldn't bet on it.
Well, you're probably right.
I don't think so.
We're from the East Coast of Abraxas. We're not the West Coast of Abraxas.
Next up, which I'm hoping I can pass on to one of our friends in the Great White North. We all know about Mr. Canoehead.
Yes.
I picked up that as well. But there is Heralds of Canada, which I have never seen before, and
that's gorgeous.
But I need to find what's on the back because there is a comic, Canadian Ninja.
I feel like Lyle showed that.
I was about to say, I'm pretty sure that Lyle has shown that.
And my guess is if anybody else has all these books in their collection, it's got to be Lyle. So I see I have that.
Just a second. Yep, and he does. Yep.
Well, that's because Lyle's house is literally built of long boxes. Like we used to build houses out of Lincoln logs.
Okay, here's the true Lyle challenge. Sprocket Man.
Oh, yes.
So Sprocket Man
going on the list.
What? Is this a promotional comic?
On the back of Sprocket Man throwing a sprocket. But this whole thing is it is really like, I had no idea what this was. And it's really a thing about teaching bike safety.
That's what I thought.
So, but the funny thing about Sprocket Man is there's always this guy that's getting ready to wreck and do something bad to himself. And Sprocket Man just provides advice. Like, it's like, he's like, Sprocket Man.
You can't beat him. He's got two.
And the only thing he ever gets involved with is a guy trying to steal a bike. He steps in and is like, okay, you shouldn't steal the bike.
Yeah.
But, if you're going to cause damage to yourself because you haven't worn a helmet or anything like that, Sprocket Man's going to, he's like Uatu the Watcher. Like, he's not going to get involved. So
what's the character from South Park? Is it Captain Hindsight? or
I
I don't
haven't
know,
watched
but
South Park in 20 years.
there was a bit that they did about the BP oil spill, and Captain Hindsight swoops down and he's like, there should have been a fail-safe valve, and the guy was like, there was, and he was like, well, there should have been a second fail-safe valve, and they were like, thank you, Captain Hindsight, and then he flies away. But yeah.
This is appropriate for coming up April, at least for the US people. Speaking of captains, there's Captain Tax Time.
God.
And now Captain
Wow.
Tax Time, I was hoping it was all American, but it's actually Canadian. It's all about filing taxes, and there's this evil villain, the evil. I want to get my government. He's the Captain Minister of Finance in Canada. Turns evil and is trying to put taxes on everybody.
Turns.
So Captain Tax Time has to come and defeat him. But it's really kind of fun. But then it's like the Christmas story, don't forget to drink your Ovaltine, being a crummy commercial. It's all a crummy commercial for this guy's tax services thing that he offers.
That's incredible.
So it's like a tax finance course that you can get involved in so that you can help people with taxes and stuff too.
Perfect.
But yeah.
No notes.
No notes. Publish.
Yeah. Yeah, you get a bit of refund. Have y'all seen Life Brigade? Look at how horrible that.
That's garbage.
That
looked.
So I saw this. I was like,
proportions.
This is one of the most horrid covers. This is kind of fun in the back.
That's amazing.
I
love that
story. But
where do you find this stuff? What's that one called? Because I'm putting it on the list.
Life Brigade.
Brigade.
Life
no one's arms are the right
last
length.
Individuals fighting evil. But that cover is absolutely horrid. But when I started looking into it, the art kind of grew on me after a little while.
I like that.
It's so stylized, but yeah, this was a good find. I picked up. I'm sure some of you have seen Fantasy. No. But I had to get this one because it had Captain Obese versus the Deadly Drool Slasher. Was in that.
Captain
and
Obese.
It has just a hero named Harold.
Well,
yeah,
there was bound to be eventually.
So what's the name of that one again?
This is Fantasy number 5, and this is Apple Comics. They have Captain Obese in a lot of the issues, but I just picked up one, and the Deadly Drool Slasher just grabbed me. So
Captain Obese was my nickname in middle school, so I gotta have that one.
Have y'all seen Horse? Horse with an exclamation point.
It has an exclamation point. Is that no?
One of 3. This is it's.
Please tell me this is a Centaur book.
It is a Centaur book.
Yes.
Hell yes.
Yeah. Spoilers. I know everybody's going to go out and get this book, but they don't really announce that it's a Centaur for a while. But yeah, there's some Centaur goodness right there. Yeah.
That's genuinely good. Am I crazy? Or does that genuinely look good?
Well, these pages do not. But it's just an interesting style. But yeah, there's Horse. Yeah.
I'm on board for Horse. I put the exclamation point on my list.
This might be one of my favorites to show. Space 342434. So
it just rolls off the tongue.
It does. So there are all these women, and they're all featured on the back. You can see all of their glorious pictures in the back. And this is all what is it Fumetti, the style?
Yes. Yeah.
It's all that. So you have
So it's photographs inside.
yeah, well, there's photographs and comic art. Like there is
I
some
have to
art, but
own
they
this.
put the actual
Yeah, because I think Fumetti is like just photographs. So
okay.
this is almost like a multimedia. I mean, it is in the same vein, but wow.
Yeah.
This is 80s. This is like an 80s trash movie.
Yeah.
Come
And
to
I mean,
print.
these people had to pose for all of this stuff. And they have like pictures of them running and stuff, which is kind of fun. But yeah, you kind of root for different ones in there, and they don't all make it. So it's kind of
No spoilers.
yeah, no spoilers, but but yeah, I wonder where they all are now.
That's what Nightcat wants to be.
Right.
Matt's ordering it already. Okay.
Yeah. Poor Matt's credit card.
Yeah.
It's okay, Christina. All comics don't have to be for all people. That's our philosophy here.
Ultra Klutz.
I like it.
That's a spoof on Ultraman, maybe?
I think so.
Is that poof there? Is he farting? Is that a fart on the cover?
I believe so. And
then it's on the list.
And it also has inside the tale of the Titanic toilet terror that thrashed Tokyo.
They could have kept the consonants by just saying trashed Tokyo.
Yeah. But it's got like a poop monster fighting, and there's a little there's also some like the Schnoz monster, and it's kind of like some kaiju stuff happening. But yeah, it was actually kind of a fun read. So
that's cool.
Did you get all of these at one place, or
some stuff I've had in my collection, and then some stuff I found just recently at a few different places nearby that have total trash. Like this is when you go into a back corner and you find that corner box that nobody wants to actually reach into. And it's there for a reason, because nobody's ever going to buy those books. That's where I found some of this stuff. So
that's awesome.
There's also Tales of the Jackalope.
I think I may have seen this one.
Which is, it's Blackthorn. It's just kind of a anthropomorphic kind of thing. But it was a fun little read. But yeah, Tales of the Jackalope. You probably have seen this, Dead Clown. Maybe? No? Okay.
It's Malibu.
It's Malibu. Yeah. It's about this undead clown. Inside, of course, you get like a glorious ad for a wonderful book.
The ferret takes on bloodlust.
Yeah,
that is a 90s action villain if I ever heard one.
So this is just typical, Malibu goodness if you're into that.
Sadly,
and then there's Gonad the Barbarian, which was actually really good.
No, wait. My heart.
You were prepared for that, yeah.
You're never prepared for Gonad the Barbarian.
And Gonad the Barbarian, the art is actually really good. The story was good. He actually meets this girl named Areola. That's like his
because why not?
Red Areola.
And then what is the name of these?
Oh my god.
There's some he takes on later the Syphilis sisters. Yeah. So, but this was good, and there's actually pieces to like cut out and then play the game on the back.
Wow.
So it's and this one, the person did not cut through that, So it's probably extra valuable.
Well, thank God for that.
Yeah.
Steven gave me a great idea because I have a couple like treasury editions that have cutout things, and he's just like, just go to a place you can get a color copy made on, on like cardstock, and then your comic is still preserved and you can do the activity. So I'm totally going to do that with one of these Flash Superman ones I have, because it has like this Hall of Justice standy thing. I want to get it printed, and I'm 8 years old.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, this is more like a magazine, but I picked it up in Pittsburgh at Ides Entertainment. But it's Slick Times, and that's Hillary Clinton. Topless in bed, and there's like a little $3 Bill Clinton bill in there. But whoops, day it is. That was just odd, but I was like, yeah, I got to pick that one up. And then that's end of the really weird stuff. But I remember, Nate, you were recently talking about the Lois Lane issue where they make her into African American.
Yes. I Am Curious Black.
Yeah. But there's some more recent stuff in Marvel that they had done the same way. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but this issue of the Punisher, he previously had been all jacked up, and they do surgery on him. And he's like, I don't want to look like, anybody from before. So they put on a face of him that's a black person. So
yeah,
that's pretty odd.
I remember hearing about this. I've never seen that. That's glorious.
And my favorite example of this is Power Man and Iron Fist.
Iron Fish.
Iron Fish.
My new title.
Yeah. 121. So during Secret Wars 2, there's two like funny issues. There's an issue, I can't remember if it's the main Spider-Man or if it's Peter Parker, but there's an issue where the Beyonder starts feeling full, and Peter Parker has to tell him to go to the bathroom. And so there's that. But this one, they go into a bar. He wants to fit in with everybody that's at this bar. And so the Beyonder changes himself into this character, and then he starts speaking jive to everyone.
No.
Perfect.
Yes.
No.
Perfect.
So he says,
I guarantee you not one black person put pen to paper to write those words down. It was all crusty white guys in the Marvel bullpen.
Correction. You know who did it? Christopher Priest.
Wow. Okay. Very cool.
So
I sit corrected.
Yeah, but he he first says, check it, blood. Slide me a piece of the porgy on the downfire side, greens and beans, and walking Johnny through the rocks. Cool. And they translate it to, may I have the fish, please?
The jive translator. Matt just referenced Airplane. It's the jive translator. Hell yes.
Yeah, there's several panels where they have jive translating.
Oh my God, that's so amazing.
What issue is that?
So that's 121.
121. Yeah. I need to read this.
Damn it.
That is.
So that's all.
Okay. Well, what a perfect one to end on.
Now, I will say in defense of the Lois Lane, like, I think they were trying to do the right thing. It was not offensive.
Right.
It was just, it was not well done, but their heart was in the right place with the kind of story they were trying to tell. That's one of the reasons it doesn't bother me. I think that Power Man would have bothered me had I not known Christopher Priest was involved.
Yeah, right.
Steve.
Lyle mentioned earlier one that he showed called Space Negro. And when he showed that, we were all like, oh God, no, we thought that was, but we found out it's an African-American creator. And now I want to read it. Now I'm on board. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my fun and weird. Like I felt like if I was coming on your show, I needed to try to, impress the masters in what little way that I could.
Well, I mean, my car, I had to go to a second column. You did a good job. Now I'm going to type all this into CLZ and my comic shop and see which ones I just have to pull the trigger on.
Sprocket Man is in my comic shop part right now.
Right now, out of everything that you aside, Power Man, I definitely want to read, but yeah, I think Space 34, 24, 34 is a huge must get for me, as well as Horse and Gonad the Barbarian. That is some good stuff there, man.
Yeah. Thanks.
Life Brigade in particular spoke to me.
Yeah, that looked like it made me feel like maybe I can draw a comic book cover.
Yeah, it looked truly wretched.
Yeah.
That is what I am into. I don't know how, K-Mutant. How do you not get FOMO? The guy's here every week watching us talk about garbage, and he just hates it. And we love him for it. So funny.
Matt was asking 121 of Power Man Iron Fist.
Yeah, Matt frantically asking before we end the stream, what issue of Power Man?
He's got all this stuff in his cart that he's trying to. Yeah,
he's got a second screen is nothing but comic shop cart. Too good, man.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. That was so much fun.
That was great. Good stuff.
Do you have anything coming up that you wanna plug or shill or what have you?
Sure. Well, I'll be on SideQuest Comics tonight with hopefully Rich and Chonko will be there at 8 p.m. tonight. I will be on Matt Likes Comics. I think on the 8th of April that I'll be there. And I have. I'm going to be working up a couple of videos. One, just kind of my favorite picks of March for new books to put up. And I have on order a sketch from probably one of the most famous characters in all of comicdom, but done by the original creator. So, but I have that coming. So I'll probably do like an unboxing or something like that of that one. So, so I have a few things going on. Yeah. Gooch the horrible.
Steve, you were full of beans this morning, dude.
He is, yeah.
I mean, Gonad the Barbarian was probably it was one of the most fun reads. So yeah.
So next week on my channel, we will be hosting Mike from Lunch Money Comics for this Sunday comic book hangover show,
awesome.
Which is super cool. I'm trying to schedule out the rest of this month too. I've got a couple of people that I've reached out to, but anybody who wants to get up early and come talk comics with us, please send Hagen or I a message. We'd love to host you, talk about your channel, your collection, your passion for this part of the hobby, like what your niche is. That's just kind of what I dig. This is very relaxed, but I feel like we got to learn a little bit more about you, Adam, and that was fun. So next week on my channel will be that, and then coming up today, so there we are, and then let's see what Comic Book Church is up next on Bleaker. We've got the Merry Monday Mail Call Show. Dave from Still on 35 Cents. I've seen some pictures. He's at WonderCon right now, I think. Mm-hmm. I saw some nice pictures of him out on the floor and meeting some other people from the community. So he's doing an Avengers haul and a Doomsday reaction. We've got the Council of Comics doing Danny DeVito's Renaissance Man. I remember that movie, directed by Penny Marshall. Heroes for Hire at 6 with the Sunday Super Show Extravaganza, and kicking it with K-pop at 7, Blood Priestess. I don't know much about that, but she always hosts, creators and people who have books on Kickstarter. Legion at 8:30 for At Week's End, and Black Crown Comics at 9. So you can get your nerd on all day. I try to pop in and out as I'm doing things and getting ready for the next week. Yes, there we go. thank you to Christina and JSS. And one last time, if you have a channel and you do any kind of live streaming, I highly recommend you add them as mods. They are just
Absolutely.
so wonderful. It's so nice for them to be able to drop links, and they just very supportive. So thank you to everybody in the chat. Hagen, anything else?
No, I don't think so. Thank you guys for hanging out with us and waking up early to see us. Lyle, I see that it's 7:30 a.m. where you are. You're way more dedicated than I am. Go back
way
to bed.
More. Yes.
Peace be with you, good sir, and we will see you all soon.
All right. Bye, everybody.